CafeYPanDulce. That's next. CafeYPanDulce.
Barb Bacon, and I'm a community advocate here in South Charlotte. If I had my buttons on today, it would be, let's get some gun control. I'm tired of looking at the news and seeing this. Black Lives Matter in honor of our friend Joel. And let's have equal rights for everybody.
This is Jenny-Jaymes Gunn. I am a community advocate here in Charlotte, North Carolina for LGBT women's rights with the National Organization for Women, gun sense laws with Moms and Men Action, and anything that extends equity to all. Thank you.
Cano, you're the co-host. My buttons are Moms and Men Action, gun sense legislation, healthcare for all, Medicare for all, and also in my heart, Black Lives Matter on behalf of Joe Oldham, who's a guest of ours who passed away last year. That's it.
Good morning, everybody. It is CafeYPanDulce time. And you're seeing this for the first time. You're seeing this March 27th, last Wednesday of the month. If you're seeing this when we drop it, or hearing it on your favorite audio podcast platform. And it's just wild. It's been our going theme for the show this year. If we have one constant, it's been talking about how fast 2024 seems to be just going by.
Amazing.
And it's not hurting either one of our feelings. Like, we all knew it was going to be a powder keg year. I mean, we got Ukraine, and we got Palestine, and we got people trying to bomb boats in the Black Sea or the Red Sea or wherever, and this craziness in Florida as usual, and a presidential election to boot.
A lot going on. A lot going on. Yeah, I agree, Jenny. It's a lot going on, and it has been our running theme for 2024 is how fast the year is going, and you and I have said off camera and on camera that it doesn't hurt our feelings. It's going by fast because you and I are engaged in a lot of other things off camera, and a lot of work that we do to try to make sure that people are educated about what's at stake with elections and so forth. And so, yeah, it's crazy. And we're going to be talking about that. We're going to be talking about a lot of things because today's show is a fun show. So Jenny and I always have fun when we're doing this show, and it's so much fun. I actually have my Mr. Rogers sweater on. I'm actually in the mountains of North Carolina. It's a little cool here, but we've got a early spring occurring. Jenny, how is it in Charlotte? Are you guys?
It was a little crisp Monday night. It got down below freezing for about an hour. And so I kind of laughed because I lived in Amarillo, Texas, right before here, and it's flat out. It's like Kansas. It's cold. Exactly. This time of year is still winter. Still usually feels like winter. Like we'll have a patch of spring, and then we'll have snow. Yes. True story. If you really want to understand Northwest Texas weather, this is when Beto was running for Senate, U.S. Senate against Ted Cruz, and he had a first major stop in Amarillo, Texas, was, I believe, the first weekend in April.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And that day, it snowed 3 inches while he was coming up from Midland, Odessa, Lubbock, and then we were the last stop. We were the nightcap, and he was going to do a nighttime rally in this really huge banquet hall owned by a local Tex-Mex restaurant, really nice. And it was the first time I met him, and I was enamored by his ability to speak and touch people, and really was such a message of positivity. It reminded me of a Texas version of JFK. And he, first thing he talked about, he said, like, wow, what a greeting. There's like snow everywhere, because it was literally, it was melting. Yeah. And it wasn't really sticking, so the roads were okay. Sure. But the fact that there was just in the window it blows, there's blowing snow and like flurries everywhere as he walks in the hall.
Welcome to Northwest Texas.
And he's from El Paso, so he's like, this is weird, this is a different, and for people who don't know their geography real well, especially Texas geography, it's 600-700 miles south of Amarillo. It's on the southern border. The sister city is Juarez, which I've been in Juarez several times in my lifetime. And it also is adjacent to Las Cruces, New Mexico, which is a pretty little city and a growing city. And there's just a lot going on down there. But they don't have that kind of weather like Amarillo has.
Yeah. So we're actually kind of in paradise right now. Now that you describe all of that, so as Jenny said, we want to welcome everyone to CafeYPanDulce. I'm Christian Cano, as I've said, and Jenny Gunn, our co-host, and Barb Bacon is returning next week. Yay! So I have confirmation. We're very excited to have Barb back with us. We want to thank everyone who's joining us on Facebook Live, but also those who join us on YouTube, and the thousands who listen to us on your favorite audio podcast platform. So today's show's topic's name is MAGA is the Who Farted Party? The question mark. Are they the Who Farted Party? The Who Farted Party. So we're going to talk about how we got this title, but also we're going to talk about a lot of other things. Especially we're going to talk about, Jenny had mentioned this on her show. She has a show that drops after this one. And we're going to be talking about SB4, Texas SB4, that has been blocked, allowed to go, and then blocked within a 6-hour time frame. We tape or record this show a week before we drop it. So on the Tuesday night before we dropped it, the Supreme Court of the United States had allowed the law to go into effect. And then less than a couple of hours later, an appellate court in Texas blocked it again. So it is now blocked. And we're going to be talking about that. And maybe we'll also talk about the Don Lemon interview, Elon Musk. I don't know if you've seen that. Did you watch that interview, Jen?
I've seen snippets of it.
Okay.
I saw
really good interview.
On a question, and Don Lemon appeared to be pressing him pretty hard on some things, and Musk wasn't having it. Which and Don Lemon was really good on his quote. He said, "Elon Musk is not used to answering questions from people who look like me." That was a polite way of saying he's not used to non-white people pushing back.
Leave it at that. Yeah. Exactly. He's not used to that.
How dare people of color have an opinion?
Exactly.
Elmo, as I like to call him, has a very plantation mentality. And he comes from a country where his family greatly benefited from apartheid. And mining and using unfairly cheap labor and a lot of other things. And so that's probably why he likes Donald Trump so much, because they kind of are the same person. I loved what I saw of it.
It was a great interview. And we're actually, for those who watch and listen to us, you will have known by this by now, but we're actually going to drop that interview on our social media website, so you can watch the entire interview. It really is a really good interview. And I think it kind of shows and it highlights almost the thought process of people who believe in conspiracies, because, he anyway, you got to watch it. I don't want to give it away, but he talks about a bunch of things. So before we go into that, we're going to go directly into Barb's current events.
And this is Barb's current events.
All right, here we go. Jenny, I try to get these for you. The first one, SB4, as we just said, the state law, SB4, went into effect. Actually, it was blocked. It was supposed to go into effect March the 5th, and it was blocked. And then it was appealed by Texas, and then the Supreme Court said, okay, you can do it. And then a couple of hours later, the appellate court blocked it again. So right now it is blocked. They're going to be talking about it, I guess, at the appellate court. And so that's the first one. The second one, and you talked about this heavily on your show, Trump is having a very difficult time. By the time you see this, I think we'll find out what would have happened. He's having a very difficult time coming up with a bond to appeal his verdict that was against him in New York. Over almost $500 million he has to come up with, and apparently he doesn't have that much money, or even 10% of the cash. So that's interesting. And then this other one was really intriguing. I don't know if you've heard about this, but there are two MAGA ladies that had this cat fight on social media. One of them was, her name is something Ellis. She was the lady who was the attorney for Donald Trump, but then she pleaded not guilty in Atlanta. And she's willing to testify against Trump. And then the other one is this crazy lady, she's been blocked from almost every social media. I think her name is Loomer, Loomer. Yeah. And so apparently they were having this cat fight of literally a thread that was maybe like 12 postings. And they were so angry at each other that one of them was saying, well, you're fat. The other one was, well, you're divorced and you can't get a date. It was really shady. And then it got to the point where one of them blocked the other one and then unblocks them to post something else and then blocks them real quickly again. It is so crazy, but this is the MAGA world, all right? And then the last one, those are actually three. The last one we're going to do four. The last one is, and I'm sure I'll have to remind you because I've said them too long. The polling that's coming out, the exit polling from these primaries in the Republican primary, Nikki Haley has dropped out, DeSantis has dropped out, Chris Christie's dropped out. So the only person who's actually, is Donald Trump. But up to 20% of the people are not voting for Trump. And when you look at the polling of these people, the people that are voting for Nikki Haley, over half of them said they would never vote for Donald Trump, that they would rather vote for Biden. And at first Trump was saying, oh, these are like, Democrats or independents who are just trying. No, a lot of these elections are only for Republicans. And so the numbers that people are looking at are going, this does not look good for Trump because he has to win 100% of his party. Plus he has to win some independents. And he's not even winning 100% of his own party. And so those are the four topics, Jen. I'm going to let you go with those. And if you need help reminding, just let me know. So tell me what you think.
Well, Trump, again, and we talked about this on the Two Queer show, is with the bond. And so to me, those topics are related. This guy's made his own bed. He has treated people so bad. He's done so much shady stuff. Some Republicans are now thinking, well, I'm a person of conservative values, but what that means to me is I love my family. I'm probably a Christian. I'm probably these attributes. And how can I, in good conscience, support a man like this that's counter to my true integrity? And there are some Republicans, especially Republican voters, that vote with their conscience, and or not vote. Yeah, exactly. Just as devastating for him as Republicans not participating 100%, him not getting endorsements. Recently, another congressperson said, and I blank on who it was, but said, I am not endorsing Donald Trump. I'm not going to support him, and he's getting more and more of that pushback from people that maybe supported him 4 years ago, and for sure they supported him in 2016.
Mm-hmm.
And the voters it's showing every vote for Nikki Haley was a protest vote. It was not that Nikki Haley's that inspirational, but they saw her as a viable alternative to the dumpster fire that is Donald J. Trump. And, if I wanted to be in the Republican Party and I wanted to vote Republican for whatever reason, I'd have, with all good conscience, if you have a conscience, you can't vote for Donald Trump, no matter what.
Yeah.
And it just tells you even the Republican Party is not a complete and total monolith, is that there's people in there like a Mitt Romney that still talk about common sense and working for the people.
Mm-hmm.
And kudos to those Republicans that are voting with their conscience and not just going along to get along. And that's how they change their party. Because if they don't evolve, the Republican Party's done.
Yeah. Because
the younger generations don't want anything to do with them. And the older generations ain't getting any younger. And so it's we need the Republican Party to be the counterbalance to the Democratic Party, because the Democrats, get complacent. So we need that. We just don't need Donald Trump. Like, there's plenty of qualified Republicans to run for president and Congress. We don't have to have all this crazy MAGA stuff. And they don't either. They can win without it. They did before. The bond, again, it's the craziness of Trump. It's if you're a bond company, and of course he can't use a New York company because he's forbidden to do business in New York, so he's got to find somebody out of state. But to be on the hook for $450, when you write a bond, you're on the hook for the full amount. Even though you only get paid usually 10% of the bond.
Yeah.
In good faith money and earnest money, basically. It's $450 million. It's a 9-figure fine because he's a tax cheat. And when you think about it, the optics of them being a tax cheat, and then you're basically loaning him that money. You're on the hook for that until it's resolved in the courts, because he's trying to appeal it and all that, but he has to post a bond to appeal it. Because the judgment's already in place. In fact, state of New York's preparing to start grabbing some of his properties and have a fire sale, because that's how they'll pay that fine, is they will seize his properties and they're going to have an auction. And Trump Towers is going to be somebody else's towers pretty soon. I hope it's somebody that's a flaming liberal too. Please let it be that. Or maybe rich buddy Elmo Bus can bail him out.
How about SB4 or the cat fight?
Well, SB4, is a completely unethical law.
And we're going to talk about that more, actually. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's the appellate courts did the right thing.
Sure.
It's inhumane, and you know how I feel about immigration.
Exactly.
And doing the right thing, and our country was built with immigrant hands. That's the theme of the show. This show. We talk about America's promise, and the great melting pot isn't a melting pot if we don't have new blood coming in.
Yeah.
And the immigrants built the railroads. The immigrants built everything that's industrial and powerful with our country, had to do with immigration. And it's so the Loomer thing, I love seeing MAGAs go at each other, because
that's crazy.
It's funny how they're a prime example of what our theme is today.
Yeah, exactly.
They wildly accuse the other of doing the same thing that they do.
Yep.
And you got two people that are fairly unhinged, Loomer being the crazier of the two, in my opinion.
Yes.
But Loomer's just nuts. Loomer is she looks the part.
Yeah.
She has some crazy looking eyes.
Yes, it's funny you say that because I wanted to Google this, and I'd never seen her before. And I'm looking at the picture. She's got crazy eyes.
Yeah. She's got, when I see her, I think of Fatal Attraction.
Yeah. It's
or Single White Female.
Yeah.
Where the female is the stalker.
Yeah.
And I can see her with a leather full-length trench coat on, showing up somebody's door, with a butcher knife underneath it, and going, "If you don't love me, nobody's going to get to love you," type thing. And he's the full stage 5 clinger.
So listen, we're going to take our first break, and we're going to come back, and I want to read to you, Jenny, what they were arguing about, which is it's I love it. So. All right, we'll be back. We'll be right back on CafeYPanDulce right after this.
So we have a great fall lineup, and we encourage you to tune in to many of our fabulous shows, like our Dice Say show, and many more things in October and November as well. Thanks for watching, as always, and we'll see you next time.
Bye, y'all.
Hey, y'all, thanks for watching, and support our local Black and brown businesses, including our sponsor, Manolo Bakery. That has some fabulous pastries, food, king cakes, all kinds of specialty cakes, swallows, and much, much more. Some of the best food you eat in Charlotte, North Carolina. Again, Manolo Bakery, right here in East Charlotte. Thanks for watching. Hey, y'all, thanks for watching the Florida shows. They've been wildly successful. Obviously, it's a topic that you guys have enjoyed and wanted to know more of. And we like talking about the dumpster fire. It used to be the state of Florida, and we'll probably talk about it some more this summer. Thanks for watching, y'all.
Bye, y'all. Thanks for watching.
Welcome back, everyone. Thank you, Jenny, for sharing us with those top 4 of Bob's current events. So we're going to stay on the last one because this is so delicious. I don't even know how to describe this. And this is perfect for the type of show that we're doing. Word. Yeah,
delicious is a very good word.
It's perfect for the type of show. So this all started off with this Laura Loomer, who I guess a lot of people hadn't been responding to her postings or her tweets on X or whatever you call it. And so she decided to just out of the blue post on tweet. It said, "People are so mean to President Trump. He doesn't deserve it. His life is so hard, and he just keeps on fighting for all of us. Makes me sad." With a sad emoji. So she just posted that out of the blue because periodically she likes to get people to follow her, because the Trump people like. She likes the adulation of people liking her tweet. Well, apparently this Jenna Ellis retweeted it and put, "The way I just snorted reading this, Loomer is so pathetic." That's how it started, okay? Immediately after, this other person said, Loomer posted that it's ironic Jenny Ellis, of all people, wants to comment on my relationship status. So then they started arguing with each other, even saying, she's unattractive. The reason she can't. Loomer is pathetic and a crazy level of delulu that makes her deeply unattractive and unable to find a man. It's why she lashes out in anger and jealousy and lies about other women who are secure and confident. Some of our relationships haven't worked out. So they went at it for like 12 tweets with each other, constantly going back and then actually calling Loomer, said, "Pathetic is turning the man who gave you employment just so you can save your own disloyal, fat, ugly ass. I'd rather be called pathetic than disloyal. Twice divorced and overweight and disloyal." Okay, so this is a cat fight. Okay, this is literally a cat fight. But I think it highlights what you have said many years ago on this show about the people that are going to destroy the Republican Party are Republicans. And you said it also that the people that are going to destroy MAGA are going to be MAGA. They can't help themselves. They don't have the discipline. They don't have the professionalism. They don't have what it takes for a long-term war. They like these small fights, but they don't have what it takes for a long-term war. And I say this constantly because people who are from marginalized communities, the ones that they are after, the ones that they have punched down on or said hateful things, we are used to being, we've learned how to fight the war, and we eventually will win the war. And sometimes it's a short game, sometimes it's a long game. But I say this because this is a perfect example of the MAGA people. They're just unhinged. They can't help themselves. And so when you told me a couple of weeks ago, but we were joking about titles for, one of the shows in the spring, and we were talking about, I can't remember the exact, I think I have it somewhere. We were talking about you said they're like kids in high school who
elementary school.
Elementary school. Yeah.
Like a little boy in third grade sitting there in third grade class, and it's quiet, and they're doing their little reading homework, and all of a sudden they rip one. And of course, in kid logic, if I say who farted, it projects it away from me.
Yes. And
somebody else is going to say, well, it wasn't me, and then wasn't me, and then, then there's some giggling and laughing.
Sure.
And the Republican Party's that exact way. Well, we can't trust immigrants. We can't trust the trans people. We can't trust drag queens. And we're going, but you guys' leader is Donald Trump, and we know we can't trust him. Courts have already proved that.
Sure.
And so it's literally the classic adult version of who farted.
Yeah.
And it's you see the cray-cray of the MAGAs that I don't even really consider them Republicans per se. It's just the party that's invaded.
Exactly.
And because you and I both know we have Republican friends.
Yes.
Like I'm not anti-Republican because I have Republican friends.
Sure.
And we interact with them because we're heavily involved in local politics, especially. So these are primarily local Republicans. And there's some good ones like Kyle Kirby, our friend, that's been on the show many times, especially about guns, because he's a gun broker. And some of the common sense things he said, that gun safety should be paramount to every gun owner too, because guns can be dangerous in the wrong hands if they're mishandled. Yeah. And there's people in the Republican Party, there's responsible gun owners. Most gun owners are responsible. And there is responsible Republicans. They just aren't the loudest people in the bar right now.
Yeah.
It's the who farted MAGAs.
Exactly.
That are just loony enough, like this Loomer person that's just a walking punchline in dumpster fire. You can't help but not laugh.
Yeah.
But it's also frightening that she has any influence on any policymakers of any kind. Is just as scary as MTG or Boebert being in Congress.
And you and I have these conversations all the time. So if you're watching and listening to us, this is probably not new for you to hear us say these type of things. But it's just, to me, sometimes I sit back and I just think of where we have gotten in this world, and especially here in the United States, the country that we live in. And I go back to the Don Lemon interview that we talked about when he was talking to Elon Musk. When you watch that interview and you watch what Elon Musk is saying, and you watch hear what he's saying, it's almost a peek into the mind of a lot of these MAGA conspiracy kind of individuals. We've always known they were there, and they have this. It's not I don't even know how to describe it, because it's not reality, the world they live in. It's this little world that they live in. And they base all of their opinions off of a little bit of truth, but the majority, and then when you call them on the fact that what they're saying is not factual, they go back to, well, that's just my opinion. It is like it's their default. their default is always like that. And so when I saw the interview, with Don Lemon, and he was talking to Elon Musk, and he was talking about racism, and about, we just got to get over it. Everyone was slaves. Let's get over it. And Don Lemon basically said, it's really, and I'm paraphrasing, you got to watch the interview. He says, it's easy for a white guy to say, get over it, because you have not lived in the shoes of a transgender person, a gay person, black and brown person, or a woman. It's almost insulting to tell someone who has experienced that kind of bigotry, or any kind of bigotry, and then when they tell you, this is what I'm seeing, and you tell them, get over it, it's not happening. And so I'm curious what you have to say about that, Jenny, because it's the MAGA movement. The MAGA people, basically, that's their mindset. Their mindset is, I don't know, it's this weird mindset. I didn't know that anyway, I'm having a hard time understanding it.
I think the central thing behind the who farted discussion is the shifting the blame, the lack of accountability, because
yes, exactly.
Just like the last insurrection, had the Justice Department not pursued all the insurrectionists, you're just setting yourself up for a sequel in 2024.
Sure.
Is that unpunished crimes against our state and against our country on a mass scale, like we saw with January 6th, has to be dealt with. It's not
sure
when you don't deal with problems like immigration.
Mm-hmm.
But this goes back to the Obama years, even in the Bush years. This has been a long-running discussion on how we modernize our system, and the Republicans refuse to address it.
Sure.
And they refuse to address their biggest problem, which is Donald J. Trump.
Yeah.
And when you act like, oh, well, who farted? And look the other way and go, well, what about drag queens? Well, what about drag queens? And Don Lemon did some of the hard-hitting journalists that you see from like a Bob Woodward, Barbara Walters,
mm-hmm.
journalists that are willing to get in there and mix it up with some of the most powerful people in the world. And Elmo is powerful.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm going to give the devil its due. The dude,
mm-hmm.
Raised $55 billion to buy Twitter.
Sure.
That's not chump change. And he,
sure.
he has the wherewithal to be able to do that, and has enough business acumen to raise the money. I don't know if he has the business acumen to run any company,
sure.
except at the ground, but
mm-hmm.
he at least has the game to be able to talk a good enough game to make a compelling case when he buys or acquires these ideas like Tesla
mm-hmm.
and PayPal and all these other things. He's at least able to get himself in the game.
Yeah.
And I don't think Musk is an idiot. What I think he is that he suffers from a lot of entitlement.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Being a trust fund weenie.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he's never had to face what Don Lemon called him out on. You've never had to face this, so it's easy to dismiss, well, slavery was a long time ago, get over it. But our version of apartheid didn't really start to end until the 1960s.
Yeah.
In our lifetimes,
mm-hmm.
and in a lot of Americans' lifetimes, we still had segregated schools. The last lawsuit was not settled to the 1990s.
Yeah.
So this was an ancient, like we got
mm-hmm.
young adults that were
mm-hmm.
alive or were born when the last desegregated schools ended in California, in parts of California. And so, I mean, I went to a school district that we moved into that just lost a Justice Department lawsuit.
Mm.
So these ideas of segregation, or the modern version of segregation, which is privatizing mm-hmm. schools, this hasn't gone away. Racial inequality, as we saw with the 2020 Black Lives Matter movements and the George Floyd thing,
mm-hmm.
is that racism is alive and well. Charlottesville with anti-Semitism.
Mm-hmm.
Like, when COVID came out, there was a lot of aggression towards people of Eastern Asian descent. Yeah, and even though they had the one, like they did hand carry COVID from China to the United
exactly.
States.
Yeah,
here, I got this from my Chinese grandma, and I bottled it up just for you. You know, it's wild.
Hey, Jen, I want to talk about. We're going to take our second break, but I want to talk about another thing that Elon Musk said that the MAGA, everything that he said was basically the talking points of the MAGA movement, right. And it was almost as if though he's obviously very aligned with the far right. He's very aligned. All of his talking points, all of his rhetoric, all of his conspiracies are all the same stuff that you and I hear from those who follow that kind of stuff. And so I want to talk about what he talks about immigration, because we talked about SB4 and what his theory about that. And Don Lemon tries to correct him. And we'll talk about that. And we'll talk about that when we come back on Coffee and PanDulce right after this.
Hey everyone, this is Christian Cano with the Coffee and PanDulce Show. I want to thank everyone who watched our wonderful summer shows. We had incredible viewership and incredible listenership numbers. And we also want to let you know that our fall schedule is out. We have some great shows coming in September, October, and November. So please stay with us all fall and watch our fall shows on Coffee and PanDulce. I'll dance out. Hey everyone, thank you so much for watching our Coffee and PanDulce show every week. Don't forget you can watch us visually on our video podcast platforms on Facebook and YouTube, but you can also listen to us on your favorite audio podcast platforms like Apple, Amazon, iHeartRadio, Spotify, and all of the other ones that your favorite, whatever your favorite is. Once again, thank you for watching us on Coffee and PanDulce. We'll dance out.
Welcome back, everyone. So I hope you take the time to watch the Don Lemon interview. And we don't often want people to watch another podcast, but this is actually a really good one. It's his first show, the Don Lemon Show. You can watch it, I think, on if you do still follow Twitter, you can watch it on Twitter, I guess, or X, but on YouTube, and then you can hear it on all the audio podcast platforms. So Don Lemon asked him about some of his problematic tweets that he's tweeted, and one of them was about this great replacement theory. And Elon Musk basically says the exact same talking points that all of these immigrants or migrants that are illegals, as he calls them, all of the illegals that are coming over here benefit blue states because this is his theory. This is the great replacement the white supremacists believe. All of these people that are coming over here, they're coming over here because blue states want them to come over here because it gives them more power. It gives them more electoral votes. It gives them more. Don Lemon tried to educate him about the electoral college doesn't work that way. It actually benefits red states. But if you follow the white supremacist logic, it doesn't make sense. Because what he's saying is the states that have a lot of undocumented people, like Texas, Arizona, California, even all the other states, Florida, they benefit Democrats. If that were the case, now just think of what he's saying. Texas has a lot of undocumented people, which is why they have SB4. They have been run by Republicans for 30 years. So even his own logic doesn't make sense, because if that was the case, Texas would have a Democratic governor. Does that, you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, our last Democratic governor in Texas was
Ann Richards. Yeah. So their logic is Democrats want or they call them illegals. I call them undocumented. They want undocumented people to come here, so it will help them with elections. That's the great replacement theory that they pushed, that the Nazis pushed about the Jewish people and so forth. And they believe that the reason that they want that is because it helps Democrats with elections. That's the reason they want them. If that was true, then Texas would be blue.
Yeah.
And so would I guess technically Florida. And let's say, Jen, I'll go one step further. If that was true, then why would DeSantis and Abbott send undocumented people to blue states? Because basically what he's doing is he's helping them.
Yeah.
Right.
But explaining the logic of the who farted people.
Exactly. You're right. That's a good point. Yeah.
I mean, it's good to explain it, but I mean, they're never going to get it. So first of all, if you are a true example of a who farted, aka Loomer, Musk, all Trump, all these people using the deflection art of projection and deflection, they don't care what they say. But let's start at the real baseline of the kookery.
Yes.
Is they don't care what they have to say.
Sure.
Donald Trump will Twitter storm, and now I guess he does it on his True Social. 2 a.m, throwing ketchup bottles across the room. He goes on these rants of rage, and he doesn't care what he says. Prime example, the Jimmy Kimmel Oscars thing that blew up in his face. He didn't even care if it blows up in his face. That's when you cause chaos, and you mentioned this earlier, when you are the party of chaos, which MAGA is, the one thing they do really good is stir up shit about nothing. They're the party about nothing. Kind of like the Seinfeld show was a show about nothing.
That's exactly true. Yeah.
They take issues that aren't, if they were pressing issues, why haven't we addressed it?
Exactly.
And or their logic is, well, new arrivals only help Democrats.
Sure.
Well, if that was true, you would never see, Republicans wouldn't have a chance because we're a nation of new arrivals.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
I'm the descendant, the second generation of new arrivals. And and we can't, like, the weird thing is a lot of new arrivals aren't a all progressive people.
No, they're not.
They come in all shapes and sizes, and including their politics.
But Texas is a perfect example, Jenny. All of the immigrants that have immigrated to Texas, the majority of them are very pro-life and they're very conservative, which is why Texas is a red state.
And you see a lot of, we'll use the Latinx and Tejano community in Texas. The more evangelical they are and the poorer they are, the more they support people like Ted Cruz.
Exactly. Yep.
Because they only see him as a champion for what their strongly held beliefs are.
Exactly.
They don't care about all the crazy stuff that he does. They focus in on they're a one or two party issue voter. Mm-hmm. They take one or two issues that are near and dear to them, and that's okay. That's part of politics.
Hey Jen, I want to touch on something that you just said, because I was going to touch on this. It was a perfect time. So you hit a topic that I don't think most people have really thought about, and you are completely correct. Trying to explain to a MAGA person logic it's a no. You're never going to win that game. I think Dr. B has told us, and all the research has told us, that MAGA people are in such this mind of, they have this cult mentality that you can't convince them with data and fact. You're never going to convince them. I could sit here all day long and spit this data. However, there are people that watch this show that are unaffiliated, like Barbara and so forth. And maybe some sane Republicans, we've done a show, Are There Still Sane Republicans, that maybe will understand this data that you and I are talking about. So the Gallup just issued a polling, it was probably a month ago, talking about what is the top 3 biggest issues for you as a voter. Number 1 is immigration. Number 2 is government. And number 3 is economy. And number 4 is inflation. Okay? Immigration and government are very close to each other as far as the importance. When they say government, they mean democracy, protecting the democracy. Okay. What's interesting is the Republicans saw this polling and they realized we can't run on democracy because Trump is against democracy. We can't really run on the economy and inflation because it's getting better. So we have to focus everything on immigration. So that's what they are focusing all of their efforts these last couple of these months before the election on immigration. What they don't understand, and this is one of the things that the Gallup poll is noticing, within the framework of immigration, the people who are concerned about immigration, it's split. Half of the people are like MAGA people and want everyone deported. The other half of the people are what you call, I guess, more compassionate individuals that want to give them an opportunity, want to give them, and a lot of them are evangelical. A lot of them are Catholics, people who their denominations actually sponsor immigrants and migrants who come here to this country. And so I think what they're missing is this immigration thing that they're pushing, like SB4, is going to backfire because a lot of people, especially in Texas, if you're a Texas Catholic, a lot of the bishops in the big cities support migrants coming here and support compassionate immigration. And so I do think that in a way, this immigration thing is going to backfire because they don't understand how everyone's reaction is to immigration. We're under the assumption that when we say, well, people's number one issue is immigration, that they automatically want everyone deported. That's not true. It's only a third of the people who are polled. Of that 1/3, and half of those people want compassionate. They're kind of like what you're talking about, Jenny. They understand that we need a workforce. We need, working people.
Well, and when you're talking about Texas Catholics, for example, I
Sure.
grew up in one of the most Catholic cities in the world, San Antonio, Texas, which its population's more or less over and under about 80% Catholic, even if they're not practicing. And San Antonio has always had a sanctuary city mentality. It's like they embody the melting pot idea because there's so many international companies there, especially Latin American countries from like Venezuela and Brazil and so many other Hispanic and Latin American countries, and have always said, no, we need the labor force for us to be a great city. We recognize there's tons of agriculture just adjacent to San Antonio. These migrant workers have got to live somewhere. They got to go to school somewhere. There's got to be, they spend money. So they're making money, but they're also spending money in the local economy.
Exactly.
And that has a ripple effect. We need hotel, attendants in the huge old Riverwalk. Yeah. And, those hotel rooms don't clean themselves.
Exactly.
As you know, because of being an consultant in that industry, is that there is people, and San Antonio is also a tourism city, which also needs an underbelly of labor because it's one of the largest convention cities in the world. They get over 20 million visitors a year just for conventions and tourism.
Exactly.
And especially to the world famous Riverwalk and the Henry B. Gonzalez Convention Center, which sits right next adjacent to the Riverwalk. In fact, you can even take a flyover bridge to it and pedestrian bridge. But anyway, back to the topic. There's a disconnect in Texas because the evangelical Catholics have always been very compassionate to new arrivals.
Exactly.
A lot of Catholic priests are not from the United States. They're working there, but they may be from Guatemala, El Salvador, of the Philippines. They may come from a Spanish-speaking country. They may speak 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 fluent languages. Some of them have ended up being transferred to Europe for various reasons, including Vatican City. So that, Catholic Church is on every continent. It's a $1 trillion entity, and they recognize proper immigration and creating sanctuary cities and safety is the compassionate thing to do, but it's also the conservative thing to do.
Yeah.
It's pro-economy. It's pro-growth.
Mm-hmm.
It's all the physical conservatives all should love immigration because, especially somebody like Elon Musk that needs labor in his factory, somebody's got to clean those floors. Somebody's got to fuel up those cars. Somebody's got to wax and shine those cars before they get sent to a dealership. They just don't clean themselves. They just don't put the plastic coating on it to ship them out. Like, they need a thing called labor. And we're a low birth rate country because we're a high wealth country. And part of that is that you either got to breed them, our future workers, and make them here, homegrown, or you got to bring them in because we're also an industrialized nation.
So, one other thing, real quickly, Jenny, and we're gonna actually let's go ahead and take our last break. Listen, if you like what you hear from Jenny, she does have a show that comes on 30 minutes after this show. It's called Two Queers in a Truck. We've already taped it, so I know it's going to be a good show. Please watch it. It's every Wednesday, or listen to it. Every Wednesday at 11:30. It drops on all of your podcast platforms. So this last break is about her show. It's called Two Queers in a Truck. We'll be right back.
Hey guys, I've got a special product out, and we've got a store under the name blueappliedtech.com, and you can go on our Etsy store, you can go on our social media, and you can check out our merchandise. We have some amazing snowflake Trump mugshot ornaments. We have mugs, we have pillow covers. We have a lot of cute stuff for the holiday season that you can buy. And it's great fun, and it goes to a good cause. It goes to my company, and it's helping us out getting started. And also, who doesn't want a historic snowflake Trump ornament?
Exactly.
Here,
that's funny. What's the name of it again?
And the name of the company is Blue, like the color blue, applied, APPLIED Tech. Like technology.
Blue Applied Tech. Ah, cool.
And so you can look us up. We have a website, but our store is on Etsy, and a lot of people use Etsy for different types of gifts. They are assembled in the United States, so it creates American jobs, and most of all, it's a lot of fun, and they're not expensive.
Cool.
So,
Blue Applied Tech. Got it.
Correct. Come seek us out and buy some gifts.
Cool. Hey, I'm Christian Cano. I wanted to thank you so much for watching our CafeYPanDulce shows. I also want to thank you so much for watching us on our video podcast, which is on Facebook and YouTube, but also for listening to us on our audio podcast shows on your favorite audio podcast platform, like Apple, Spotify, Google, Amazon, Deezer, Podcast Addict, Podcast Chaser, and many more. Once again, thanks for watching us and listening to us on CafeYPanDulce. Bye, y'all.
Up next is Two Queers in a Truck with Jenny and Christian. And hope you guys tune in. We'll see you in about 15 to 20 minutes. Thank you. Bye.
All right, well, welcome back. And so, Jenny, I guess what I'm saying is I'm not that upset that the current strategy of Donald Trump for this election is to put all of his baskets, all of his eggs in the immigration basket. And the reason I'm not that upset is because if you look at, and I can only imagine that the Biden people, the Democrats, are looking at this strategically also, and so if you look at this strategically, and I know not everyone does, but if you look at it strategically, the top three issues for people are immigration, democracy or government, and the economy, right? Donald Trump is running all of his efforts on one issue, immigration. And that's only 1/3 of the top three issues, okay? Of that 1/3, only 50% of those people who say that's the most important, so he is focusing on like 1/2 of 1/3 all of the other people are saying, that's not my number one issue. My number one issue is economy, democracy, and when it is immigration, I want to make sure that we're compassionate, that we do it right, that we give people the opportunity that my family, like you talk about, has been given. And so he's putting all of his efforts, it seems, and I'm not upset about it. I'm just saying is that I don't know that they think when they run these, when they do these, like strategically, it doesn't make any sense. Not only that, but it shows how undisciplined the MAGA people are. Instead of talking about immigration or whatever, you have these two ladies that are doing the cat fight.
Yeah. Well, it's because they don't have a real issue to run on.
Sure.
And I think about this situation kind of similar to 1992 and Clinton and Perot and Papa Bush being in a three-way race. And Bush seemed so aloof.
Sure.
So disconnected with the real world and didn't really run on any issues other than, hey, I'm running for a re-election. You should vote me in one more time,
Yeah.
And even though I've been the VP and the president for 12 years and haven't fixed a lot of things and the economy's starting to suck, and Clinton's winning message was, it's the economy, stupid.
Sure.
Because it was a real issue.
Yeah.
The economy had slowed up in many parts of the country. There were some significant challenges. And Clinton proved that to be right. They went to work. Yeah. The economy started growing. We had unprecedented growth in the 1990s. He cut the government budget. He cut military spending. He right-sized our military. And he did a bunch of things that are really considered more conservative issues.
Yeah.
Because honestly, they took away what Reagan ran on in 1990 or 1980 and made it a Democrat theme, which was, it's the economy, stupid, and I feel your pain.
Sure.
And we're going to bet on hope. And that's what Democrats need to do right now and say, well,
yep.
Donald Trump had the whole Congress and himself in control in his first 2 years, and they didn't modernize immigration at all. It didn't touch the fact that we need to modernize and empower and fund proper border management. And if it's really that big of a threat, they had 2 years to fix it.
Exactly.
And the same can be said for the Democrats. We had 2 years to fix it, but we had a lot of other going on.
Yeah. Yeah.
But really, which fires do you put out? But if it's going to be, if MAGA, just like when Don Lemon taking Elmo to a task and saying, that's not necessarily true.
Exactly. Yeah.
Democrats have to be smart, like the runoff for the special election in New York to replace Katara, Santos, the Holder, whatever his name is.
Sure.
The Democrat ran on immigration.
Yeah, exactly.
Immigration reform.
Yep.
And the Republican tried to, but Stussy sounded more relevant because he said, we need to modernize the system. We need to do it right. Democrats need to be on the right side of this.
Sure.
And if you elect me, I'm going to go to work. And he was part of the immigration reform bill and funding bill in Congress that the Republicans refused to pass. The House of Representatives refuses to even put it on the menu.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, one of the things that I found very interesting watching the Don Lemon interview with Elon Musk is when I was listening to him. One of the things that, and I once again, I'm just going to encourage everyone to watch it. Elon Musk was actually literally saying this, and I'm going to say this: this grown-ass man was actually saying, "Well, Don." Don was asking him like for proof that he was insinuating that companies were lowering their standards to hire black and brown people and women, and because they were lowering their standards, they were killing people because they're not as qualified as the people. That was the allegation that he was making. But then he said, "Well, I'm saying if they do lower, but they don't. So and then he said, well, and then Don Lennon said, well, what's the proof? Where's the data? And he said, well, if you look at the postings of people who replied to his posting, a lot of them put links to the proof. That was his proof. And you look at that and I go, really, you're this billionaire who runs these big companies, and that's actually like your proof? I mean, his proof is basically, I don't really have the proof. Other people have the proof, and eventually they're going to drop the proof in the chat. So that's my proof. And Don Lennon was like, it was almost like, I can't believe this guy is actually, it was mind blowing for me to hear that. But then I hate to say it like this, Jenny, but it was also refreshing because it gave you a little insight into not only Elon Musk's mind, but the conspiracy people's minds. They're not all there. And I don't mean they're crazy, as I mean their ability to think socially and their ability to think logically is not necessarily there. That is actually nice to know because it means they aren't as big of a competition as we thought they were.
Yeah. Well, 2020 proved that.
Sure. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
If conspiracy theorists wielded a lot of power, because most people look at like the white replacement theory, which I laugh every time I hear that because I think this is the dumbest thing I've ever heard of. But there's a lot of xenophobes in our country, and it's a small part of our population. But these people, when you talk about prejudice against gays and trans people, we call it transphobia and homophobia. And it's almost like they're just scared. Like they're scared of everything. Mm-hmm. Like they've got to carry a gun to an ice cream shop just to feel safe.
Yeah.
That they can't go buy toilet paper at Walmart without their AK, their AR-15 strapped to the back, because that's what makes them feel like a real man, like Pinocchio. I'm a real boy. And you go, well, I would expect that from a 3-year-old needing their binkies and blankies and their boobies and all that stuff. But you're a grown-ass adult. If you're living in a place where you can't go to the store without an AR-15, you either need to go sort out life, or you need to move.
Exactly.
If there's any part of the United States where you can't go to Walmart and buy toilet paper or go to the ice cream shop without being strapped up with, sidearms and ARs and look like some kind of walking arsenal.
Sure.
Just think of the mentality it would take to spend the time packing up all your accessories, like they're gold nugget bracelets and watches and earrings.
So listen, I want to jump. We only have about 3 minutes left, Jen, and thank you for helping me, you and me making this show kind of a humorous one. We're going to jump directly into our Pendejos Chronicle.
And this is the Pendejo Chronicles.
All right, here we go. I don't often name people who post on our social media platforms because 9 times out of 10, they're not real people. They're usually MAGA bots or something. But this one was it just kind of made my day. This person's name goes by the name of Matthew Lyons. This person posted yesterday, when you're watching this, the day before we tape this. Under Trump, 30% more blacks, Asians, and Hispanics were working and making more than ever before. Facts matter. That's all he posted. Posted on a show. First of all, it had nothing to do with the show that he posted this on. But that's their strategy. And we've caught on to it, and it really upsets them because we've caught on to it. all of the other posts that this person has posted, we've hidden because they have nothing to do with that. They want us to get distracted. They want everyone to get distracted. They want chaos. That's the whole strategy. First of all, that's not true. And they hope that we will spend our time and efforts proving that that's not true. That's really what they want. It's like the well, tell me, did you rape your wife? It's a catch-22. It's one of those kind of questions. So first of all, we're not going to entertain that. That's not true. But more importantly, they obviously don't watch this show, because if they watch this show, they would know that we have constantly repeated, or at least I know I have constantly repeated, that our demographic that we're after on this show is more of a person who takes personal responsibility, doesn't believe that any president is accountable. It isn't the person who is why they're successful or unsuccessful. That we all have to make those decisions in life. So whether it was President Trump, makes it life more miserable, but it's the choices that we make in life and we all make in life. So to think that the Hispanic and Black community is so uneducated and so just because of Trump was president, that suddenly our lives are great, really diminishes who we are, because it's under the impression that we didn't work hard for that success. Does that make sense, Jenny? You understand what I'm saying?
Well,
okay, so maybe you can better explain it. Yeah.
Well, and Trump take and conservatives a lot of times take credit for stuff that they just aren't responsible for.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like prime example, the infrastructure bill. Every Republican voted against it, but at that time we had a majority in the House, and yet that infrastructure money, no single Republican House member say no, don't bring that money into my district. Don't you dare invest into my district. No, they're out tweeting, oh my gosh, look at the big old investment I brought on my district. Don't you love me? Don't you adore me? Including MTG.
Yep.
That on the House floor, they're on C-SPAN and they're railing against it. But boy, they sure do love to claim things. And probably a certain amount of the Black and brown communities did do economically good in the first 3 years of Donald Trump, because we were in an Obama expanding economy. We were in an expansion that had nothing to do with Donald J. Trump, because the expansion started when Obama and Biden tackled the Great Recession.
Sure.
And then we were in a massive, almost decade-long expansion by the time Trump became president. He walked in with a good economy. Yeah. That's why he couldn't run on an economy in 2016. He had to run on immigration. Yeah. And those dirty, thieving, stealing, murdering people don't need to be coming in this country. And so, the imagination of MAGAs and the imaginary world they live in is clear. The delusion is real. And that's why they're the Who Farted Kid, because they're literally in their delusion. Well, if I cause enough chaos in the classroom,
sure,
stir people up, they'll forget about they just ripped it.
Yes, yeah. And so, but you're exactly right, Jenny. And that was one of the reasons that we wanted to talk about his MAGA, the Who Farted Party. And I know we're going to get a lot of comments on this show, even without them watching this, which is why we named it that. But I do completely agree with you. But I think that one posting really amplifies the MO of the MAGA social media person, that their goal is to distract. Their goal is to just have you talking about something. They want to create chaos. There's absolutely no data that shows that that's true. But more importantly, I don't know that many marginalized groups. There may be some that believe that one president is accountable for their successes. It takes a lot of things. It takes local policies, local elections. It takes state policies. It takes themselves doing things, and so I do think that it shows that they don't truly understand the Latinx Hispanic community, and that they believe that we are so. First of all, we're not, we're a very diverse community, as you mentioned, but the community overall really believes in, personal responsibility. Most of us, and so. Anyway, I thought that was a very interesting comment, and we'll see what they say about this. So listen, we ran out of time. Any last comments before we close out the show?
No, I love this topic today, because we've talked about that honestly for years.
Yes.
It makes a great theme because it reduces down the descriptor of MAGA so well they literally, in a humorous way, without doing name calling or anything like that. It's really, we all remember this from our elementary school because inevitably humans pass gas and it can be embarrassing. And, and especially in school when you have maybe an immature sense of humor there's going to be some giggling, there's going to be some finger pointing, and there's going to be some wild accusations. And kids deal with things that are embarrassing and usually in funny ways.
Sure. Yeah.
Unfortunately, adults deal with it in embarrassing ways, in not so funny ways like MAGAs, but the principle's still the same. And maybe the maturity's still the same.
Yeah.
These people just didn't. A person like Laura Luma, I don't think ever matured past age 5. Yeah.
Anyway. It's going to be a continued interesting year. We're technically we're a fourth. We're a fourth into the year, and so we'll see what happens. So Jenny, when this show drops, tell us where you're going to be after this show drops.
Just working, and just enjoying spring. I have no major events at the last weekend of March that I know of, I have the only side work I really do that's unpaid work right now is the film festival, but it kind of runs itself. I occasionally watch and screen some of the films that will be going into it, like little short films. But other than that, nothing just real major. Just enjoying life.
Excellent. Well, it's an early spring, almost all around the country. I'm sure everyone's going to be hit with a last minute winter. I'm excited about it because we didn't really have a winter here in North Carolina. No. And because we didn't have a winter, I wanted a spring. So let's get a spring. So Jenny, thank you once again. Thank you for helping carry the show. I'm so excited. As we mentioned, next week, Barb will be back. I do have confirmation that she will be back. And I just want to give you a heads up that the next show that we're taping, which is part of our spring lineup, hold on a second. Sorry. I got to get this out of here. It's going to be, here we go. I feel like Christmas here. The next show that we're taping, the title of the show is How the GOP Became the Party of Karens, Sissies, Cosplay, and Queens, Part 2.
Oh, my.
Oh my. So that's going to be a fun one, and we'll see. That's a great one to welcome. And I do believe that Urense, the young Latino, is also going to be back. So I did get a message for him, and so it'd be very interesting to hear what he has to say about that show. So with that said, we'll dance out. Thanks, y'all. We'll see you next week on Coffee and PanDulce.
Bye, y'all. Happy April Fools.
Yeah.
Hey, y'all. Thanks for watching Coffee and PanDulce like you do and listen to us every week. Watch out for the Who Farted kids out in the world and try to steer clear. And hopefully you don't get got on April Fool's Day, which the best April Fool's prank is not voting for Republicans.
That's right.
But y'all have a great week, and we'll see you soon.
See you in April. Bye, y'all. Bye, boo.
Next up, thanks for watching Coffee and PanDulce. Next up is Two Queers in a Truck. Stay tuned.
Coffee and PanDulce. How's that? Coffee and PanDulce.
You sounded like a telenova. I mean,
I'm trying to. All I have to say is, go!
Yes,
as a
right.
non-Spanish speaker.
There we go. And then when you hear it, let's get started. Here we go. Okay, so Jenny, I'm going to read you these text messages, and you can tell me what you think about them, or the postings they did. All right, here we go. So Jen, what happened is Don Lemon asked him about the posting that he posted about the Great Replacement Theory, and he said that he didn't literally say that Democrats are trying to get immigrants to come over here so they can help them vote. What he's saying is, if it benefits anybody, it benefits Democrats. So he's indirectly saying that the conspiracy that Biden wants all these migrants to come over here so that way they can vote for him. Okay, that's that. Yes, you have to watch it. So that's what we're going to talk about. Okay, here we go. Okay.
CafeYPanDulce. How's that? CafeYPanDulce.